look at that. That's an RC car. That is a Nitro car. I bought this brand new when I was a kid, and it's been a long time since it was started. In fact, it's had several different engines in the last couple of years, because the original engine lasted a long time and it was really good. But then all of a sudden, I was out the front of my home where I lived when I was a kid, going up and down the street, up and down the road, and all of a sudden it just sort of started to seize up a little bit, and then it wouldn't run at all. And when I took it apart, I found the bottom end bearing had broken up and gone up the side of the piston and completely demolished it. A great big score up the side of it, and a dent as well. So for ages, for years, literally, I mean, I grew up through my teenage years and then moved house to where I currently live, and took it with me and put it in the shed and left it there in bits. And then all of a sudden one day I decided to try and get it to go again. So I did, and people from the channel started to send me engines. So I managed to cobble together. I've got all these different T15 engines up here, look. People were sending me engines left, right and centre, going, this one's good, this one's good. I didn't really have a lot of luck with a lot of them, but all of a sudden I got one and I managed to get it to work properly, and that's the one that's in it now. So we know it's got a good engine, but it's been sat on the shelf now for years since I put that engine in. At least 3 years, maybe even 4 years since I put that engine in, and it hasn't really ran. I think I've started it briefly once or twice, but it's been sat for, you know, at least 2 years after that. So I thought to myself, it's nearly Christmas, why don't we try and start it up, see if we can get it to run. It's a lovely little engine, a lovely little car. I do love these Rush Evos. They don't make them anymore. You can't buy these anymore. Not new anyway. I did have a collection of, I had an original Rush, and then I had this one. But I sold the original one because I needed a bit of money. But this one's got sentimental value, so I won't be selling this one. Let's see if we can get it to start. Let's take off the shell, and we can have a little look at it and see if we can get it to fire up. Well, there we go, look. This is a lovely little Rush Evo. It's been sitting there. I feel quite sorry for it, really, sitting there for all that time. And they do like to be used. Anyway, so we've got the original manifold that it came with. For some reason the engine's loose. I don't know why the engine's loose. I've only got 2 screws holding the engine in, look. Obviously the screws must have fallen out the last time I used it. Let's take one of these screws out and put it, oh, unless I can find, I might be able to find a decent screw. Let's do this one up. And oh, it seems to be stripped. Might have to drill that out and re-tap that hole. Let's see if we got a screw that's any good in here. I don't know if this one's going to be any good. Only one way to find out. Put it in and do it up. There we go. There's that one done up. I might be able to find another good one in here. This is like my little drawer of just random screws and bits and bobs. They do come in very, very handy a lot of the time. Now that was a fine thread, wasn't it? This is another screw with a fine thread, so we'll put that in there. Oh no, I think that was, oh, it might do up. No, that's not going to do up. That's not going to do up. Now we'll try and get that out of there. It's too thin. Need a thicker screw. Oh, It's thick enough where it will grip on the thread, but it's not thick enough where it'll actually do up. So that's a bit of a nuisance. Let's see what else we've got in here. We might have one that works. Is that one going to be too thin? Alright, that one's also too thin. That one's definitely too fat, that one there. Well, at least we've got one that fits. What's that one? Is that one going to be too thin? Yep. At least we've got one now. So it's a little bit more steady than it was. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any that are going to fit in here. Not anymore anyway. So, right. Well, I bought that. Stick that back in there. Put that there. Right, so now the engine, that's fairly sturdy in there now. That's a bit of a better thing. We've got some nitro in here. There's some nitro in that tank, look. Can you see that? Only a little bit. Good job that ain't gone to jelly, really. Let's take that off. Because what happens is, if you leave nitro in the tank and in the pipes, it can become like a jelly, like a gel. Does the primer work? It's probably full of gel, so it's probably not going to work. Let's see. Can you see that? I think you can see that, can't you? Ooh, it's not jelly. Hopefully there's no jelly in the carburetor. Well, primed. That's good news. And it primed. Lovely. I'll tell you what we can do now. We can heat this up. There's two methods of doing it. Well, there's actually more than two, but there's two methods that I've got here that I can do. One is to use a heat gun like this, and you can just heat the engine up a little bit. The other method is one of these little things. It's called an engine heater. The name on the side of it gives it away slightly, but you can put that on there like that, and you can do it up. It's got quite good compression, this little engine. And then what you can do, you get yourself a battery, just like this one here. Plug it in. Let's see how much electric we've got first. To test the electric, you can use one of these little electric testers, like that. That says 87% or 12.25 volts. But if you haven't got one of those fancy little electric testers, you can use a little multimeter, just like this one. All you've got to do is take it out of the packet like that. Get your probes, turn your meter on, like that, and you can see that. Put your positive on your positive, your negative on your negative, 12.36 volts. So you can measure the voltage on your battery with just a normal multimeter. And this little Coit's smart meter is perfect for such a thing. If you want to buy one, or if you want to have a look to see all the other multimeters, what they do, click on the link in the description. And if you use discount code RSP15, you'll get 15% off as well. It's worth a look. They don't just do meters, they do all kinds of test equipment and metal detectors as well. That's enough of that. Let's get this plugged in. We know we've got enough voltage in our LiPo. Get this plugged in. Turn on this little engine heater and we'll see if she'll start. While we wait for that to warm up, look at this. These are also good for testing your glow starters. Now these little nitro engines, they need a glow starter to be able to start. So you can put your negative on the outside of the whatever you want to call it, shaft or whatever, and you can stick the positive in the middle there and you'll get a reading. 1.23 volts, which is about right because this is a 1.2 volt glow starter. There we go. Very, very, very handy piece of kit this. As I said, go and click on that link in that description. Get yourself one. Right, this should be warmed up lovely now. We can turn this around a little bit just so the wire's going that way, and you can open up the little flap on the top and we can put the glow starter in there. Make sure the throttle is on tick over, we don't want that flying over, and we should be able to see if she's going to start. You can put your thumb over the exhaust if you want while you're pulling it. That will give it a bit more primage. We haven't got a lot of luck with that. Let's turn off our heater for a minute. We can check to see whether the glow plug is in the top of the engine here. It's a bit like a spark plug, but it's not. In fact, it's a bit like a glow plug on a diesel engine, but it's not. We can take that out like that, and we can test to see if it's any good. The way we test it, in fact that looks reasonably new. I must have renewed that at some point. The way we can test it is we just put it in the end of the glow starter like that. Make sure it goes on all the way, and we should be able to see it glowing. We can see it glowing there. I don't think it will focus right on the element. Oh, it did. There you go. That's off. That's glowing. So we know that the glow plug and the glow starter are both working. That's what we want. It is worth pointing out that just because the glow plug glows when you put it in the starter, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good plug. It's just the same as with, if I can get one out to show you, a spark plug from a petrol engine. Sometimes your engine might not want to run very well, but when you take the plug out and test it for spark, there's sufficient blue spark there, but it just won't run very well. You put a brand new plug in and it cures your problems and it will run perfectly. So just because they spark doesn't mean that they're good. Same with the glow plug. Just because it glows doesn't mean it's a good plug. It just means that it glows. So if you've got running issues, don't rule out the plug just because it does glow. Right, I might have to use a different glow starter. We'll see. It doesn't help, probably, that the nitro which is in this tank's been in there for about 4 years, so it's probably not helping the situation. The other problem could be that we've got a bit of gel blocking up the carb, so although the nitro pipe itself isn't got gelled up, hasn't got jelly in it, there could be jelly in the needle. So it's important that we might have to check that in a minute. Oh, she's going to go. Oh, hello. She wanted to go then. I think we've got a bit of a fueling issue. I don't really know what that psst was. I think that was a little bit of a backfire, if nothing else. A bit more of a prime. I think we've definitely got a blocked up carburetor. We might have to take that off and give that a little bit of a clean in a minute. We'll see. Let's put the throttle back on, Tico. Oh dear. got a bit of an issue there. So that little nut on the end of the throttle there is loose, which means our throttle's, look, it goes all over there and it slips and it goes all back there. See, it shouldn't be like that. So I need to do that little nut up before we go any further, because I won't have any control over the throttle, because it won't be the shaft in there on the what's that thing called? I call it a butterfly, but it's not a butterfly. The shaft in there will be doing its thing freely, and any input I put on the throttle arm won't do a thing because it's not connected, because the nut's loose. Let me get a little spanner and do that up. So that I could get to it with a little spanner, I had to just take the engine out briefly. Now this is what it should be like now I've tightened it up. That goes to there, and then it goes to there. It doesn't slip, it's nice and tight, the nut's tight, that's full throttle, that's tick over. No slippage there, I can push on that quite hard, nothing happens, that's just connected to that, and that moves the throttle in now. So that's good. Let's put the engine back in and then we'll see if she'll fire up. Ah, there you are, back up there again. Is it nice up there? I hope it's alright for you up there. Anyway, so this has gone cold now, but I think we'll try with it as it is. It might work, it might fire up. This primer works. Okay, now we've definitely got primage, because I heard it. Okay, so now we can get a flat-headed screwdriver and just turn out the tick over screw, and that's cock. And now we should get a little bit of a lower tick over, and it shouldn't want to rev up like that and take away. I think we've definitely got issues with fueling. Oh, went a little bit low there towards the end. Well, she runs, man, and that runs reasonable. Bearing in mind that this engine was, from what I can remember, it was cobbled together from a couple of those other ones we saw up on the shelf there a moment ago. So I think we're doing pretty well. It smells like an old dusty cupboard or an old loft because of all the dust settled on it over the years. I think we've definitely got fueling problems. Yeah, we've definitely got fuel issues. Along with the, the old Nitro. Because I have to keep priming it. Doesn't like ticking over. Yeah, we've definitely got issues with the carburetor. There's definitely some blockages in there. Because otherwise that would be running by now. So we've definitely got issues with that. It probably doesn't help that the Nitro is extremely old. For the fun of it, let's put some fresh Nitro in there and we'll see if that helps matters. Rather than taking all that carburetor apart, it might just be old Nitro. Right, I've got some 16% here. I always ran these on 25 when I was younger because I had a big monster truck. I had a HPI Savage 21, which I've still got, if anybody's interested in seeing a video on that. So I used to run them all on the same fuel. But these smaller engines, you can run them on 16%. Some people would argue you're supposed to run them on 16%. But I've got some 16% right here. So we'll use this old bottle here. We'll suck out what we've got. Like that. And then we'll just tip in a little bit of this 16%. Actually, I won't tip it in. That's just a recipe for disaster. We'll use another bottle and we'll suck a bit up. And we'll put a bit in. Actually, we'll put that in. There we go. Half a tank now of good new 16%. Just put the rest of this back in the bottle. I've got some 30%, 20 and 25, but obviously, as I said, 16 is probably a good choice. I would usually run them on 25, but for the purposes of this video, 16 will be absolutely perfect. Let's put the fuel pipe in this bottle and we'll blow through and get rid of all the old Nitro. Right, that should be all the old Nitro gone into there now. Any that was left in this line. There'll be a little bit in the carb still, but I'm sure that'll burn out in a minute. So let's open it up to full throttle. Now we've got primage. Put that back on there. Get rid of that. Let's see if she'll run any better with some brand new 16% Nitro. Runs alright when it's being revved, but it doesn't like the lower end. But that could all just be down to the tune. I mean, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the engine. I've just turned the idle, what you Americans call the idle screw, what we call in England a tick over screw. I've just turned it up a little bit. Might be a bit low. It's actually where it needs to be. But considering it's not been run for a while, it might not like it very much. But that's running lovely. A little bit of a bearing noise, but I think it's the clutch. I'm pretty sure it's not anything else. See, it was raising, the ticker was going up by itself as it was warming up. Now it's getting warmer, I can turn it down a bit. It's actually running really well. That is running absolutely mint, considering it's been on the shelf for many years. I think the next thing to do would be to sort out some radio gear for it, which it has got. I can see I've got the antenna there, so it has got a receiver in now. What type of receiver? I don't know. I would hazard a guess it's probably, well, we'll soon find out. No, yes, it hasn't got the original. I can't remember, you see, what I'd done with this the last time I fiddled with it. But you can see by the short antenna there, that's a 2.4 gigahertz antenna. So in here is a 2.4 gigahertz receiver, probably a FlySky one, to go with the FlySky transmitter that I've got. So it is actually ready to rock and roll. It needs a battery. There's no battery in the back. I could sort that out. I've got a spare hump pack there. I could put that in there temporarily, and we could go and give this a test run and see if we can get it to be tuned reasonably. Even though it is the middle of winter, it'll still run absolutely perfectly if we treat it well. But it started up, and I'm happy with that. More than happy. That's absolutely immense. What a lovely little truck. If you've got one of these, put it in the comments. How long have you had it? When did you get it? Do you like it? My one's definitely seen better days. I used to launch it around skate parks when I was a kid. I didn't really have any morals, I suppose is the word. I just used to launch it up off the half pipe and watch it slam down and drive around and all sorts. Never actually broke it. It never broke. I mean, I used to go flat out up for the half pipe and watch it go straight up in the air. I used to find it fun trying to keep it balanced in mid-air, and then just on the concrete, off it goes. It never ever broke. I think the worst that ever happened was a couple of times the drive shaft popped out. I literally just popped them back in again and away we went. It was a common problem with these. The drive shafts would pop out now and again. But we got some bent track rod arms there. Track rod arms, track rods. That's what I would call them. What you lot would call them. I think Americans call them tie rods, don't they? Anyway, one of them's bent, but that's okay. It'll still do its job perfectly fine. Original servos as well, an original steering servo and original throttle servo. Everything's original on this, apart from the engine, as I've already explained. The only other thing which is not original to the truck is these tyres, because the ones I had on it were completely bald. Through 10 or more years of lasting around the road at the front, and various other skate parks and wherever else I decided to go, they got bald. These cross pattern tyres, they are very, very soft compound and they wear out very quick. I was lucky that a subscriber had a set and they sent them to me, so I've got some cross pattern tyres which I certainly don't want to wear out because you can't buy them anymore. But what I have got, what came on the yellow Rush that I had a while ago, is these. These are Rush rims, but they've got some road tyres put on them. I kept them because I thought that'd come in handy if I ever want to run this one and I want to run it on a tarmac, like in a car park or somewhere, not on grass. To save wearing out my tyres, I'll just put these on. They're not correct and they won't be as good because they're a bit wobbly, but at least I won't wear out my cross pattern tyres on those wheels, and I'll just use these instead. So there we go, a lovely Rush Evo, started up and runs really, really well after many years sat on a shelf doing nothing. Some of you may know that I'm quite partial to a spot of metal detecting. Well, this is the metal detector that I've got. It's quite old now and it does the job. It's a good detector. Found a few coins and bits and bobs, nothing too valuable, but I'll tell you what I've got my eye on though. From Kuwait's, this thing. This is a brilliant little thing by the looks of it. I've got my eye on this. I think after Christmas I think I'll be getting myself one. I might try and persuade the brother-in-law to get one as well, because he's got a metal detector much the same as my one, so analog and old. So I might try and persuade him to get one of these digital ones from Kuwait's, and we can give it a test and a bit of a review even as well on the channel. If you fancy getting yourself a metal detector like what I've just shown you before I do, and you want to get to it before I get to it, click on the link in the description and that'll also take you to that page and you'll better have a look at it. And if you do buy anything from that link, you'll be helping me out massively as well, and use the discount code RSP15 for your 15% off. They've also got Christmas sales on at the moment as well, so if you fancy a multimeter or a metal detector or anything testing meter wise, infrared cameras or anything of the like that, go and have a look on there. And but I'm determined I'm going to get one of those metal detectors after Christmas, and I'll try and persuade the brother-in-law to come along. He don't like being on camera, so it's a bit tricky, but I'll try and persuade him to come along and we'll see what we find, and we might even end up using those as our normal detectors for the summer, because well, if it's any good, why not? This thing has done me proud, but it's as basic as you can get. That fancy one, that's got all different kinds of modes and all sorts. Very exciting. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Something a little bit different for this channel. Usually we deal with actual cars or chargers or batteries or caravans or anything else like that. So I thought Nitro cars a little bit different for this channel. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Merry Christmas, enjoy yourselves over Christmas, have a lovely time, treat everybody equally, all have a nice time, everybody's the same. and I'll catch you later on. Cheerio, you lot. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching.